Curiosity is something that's incredibly consistent across every demographic. It allows us an opportunity to have a conversation with the American public about what is interesting to them. They're open-minded. They want to understand the world around them. They want to listen to the stories that our NPR journalists tell about the world, help illuminate what's going on, help inform. They have a really interestingly, they're much more interested in how the news affects them than sort of like the covering of what goes on in Washington, which makes complete sense when you think about the role that journalism plays in their lives and in everyone's life. It's really about, what does this mean for me? How do I understand the world? How do I understand people around me? And so I think that through line of curiosity is just so promising, because if we uphold that commitment as a newsroom to curiosity and we bring people in with differing perspectives, it allows us to be curious with one another. It allows us to be curious about the world around us, and it allows us to serve that audience, which is all of America, so much better.
Okay, folks, how you doing? Well, I am going to continue down this road simply because, not for clicks, not for anything, because I am really, really interested in this thing that's going on with NPR and Catherine Marr, and the fact that she's most likely a CIA asset at this point. And I've done several videos before kind of indicating this. This started to creep out more and more over the weeks since she filed, I think to pronounce his name is Yuri Berliner, who was he was a business analyst, journalist for NPR for like 25 years. He actually probably helped build up quite a lot of their popularity since maybe the 2000s, pretty much, the early 2000s, 25 years, about that, you know? And so he was put on leave, suspended, and he was put on 5 days unpaid leave by the NPR CEO, Catherine Marr, and now he has resigned. And so here we are. And then it came out yesterday that people are starting to get suspicious based on her resume that she's probably a CIA asset, for sure. Because she's only 40 years old, and boy, I'm like, she has had significant posts at many big, what do they call them? The nickname is for like foreign agencies, agencies that work in foreign relations, blobs. Okay, that's just a nickname. So the CIA is one of those. Okay, she's worked on the Atlantic Council, WEF, UNICEF, the UN, I think the UN. I could be wrong on that one. But the other one was well, I'll read it here. Okay, so, and it just screams, by the age of 40, you have to be a mouthpiece. You can't think for yourself, but if you're loyal to the regime of neoliberal globalism, you will rise through the ranks quickly, and she is an obedient disciple to these people. So Champagne Joshi says, Catherine Marr, the CEO of NPR and intelligence spook. Let's look at her resume, and you tell me if it doesn't scream spy. Another thing to keep in mind is that she is only 41 years old. I mean, this is one hell of a resume. It's like, what'd you do? Just work 3 months at each of these jobs? So it's suspect, and she's really shown the spotlight on herself, and the Streisand effect is in full play here. So she received her bachelor's degree in Middle Eastern and Islamic Studies in 2005. That's her bachelor's degree in 2005 from New York University's College of Arts and Science. She studied the Arabic Language Institute at the Arabic Language Institute of the American University in Cairo, Egypt, and the Institut Français d'études arabes de Damas in Damascus, Syria. Double, huh? She previously worked at Stanford University as lecturer, McCoy Family Center for Ethics and Society. She is non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab. Well, and I just always get that feeling, if you've worked for the Atlantic Council, it's highly suspect that you probably work for the CIA. Former Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of the Wikimedia Foundation. She is an appointed member of the U.S. Department of State's Foreign Affairs Policy Board, where she advises the Secretary of State. Definitely not spy-like, he says. She served as Advocacy, Strategy, and Communications Director for the International digital rights organization Access Now. I've seen a couple of mentions of digital forensics, digital rights in here already, and this is why she's probably big on censoring people. She doesn't believe, whenever they say digital rights, they mean taking away your rights in a digital space. So on social media, your platforms for free speech, stuff like that. She definitely doesn't believe in it. She was an information and communications technology innovation specialist at the World Bank. She was an ICT program officer at the National Democratic Institute. Remember, folks, she's only 41 years old. She was the innovation and communication officer at UNICEF, where she was a founding member of the UNICEF Innovation Team. She was a term member on the Council on Foreign Relations, a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader, a security fellow at the Truman National Security Project, totally normal. She is on the board of directors for the Center of Technology and Democracy, Consumer Reports, the Digital Public Library of America, and System.com. She is also a trustee of the American University of Beirut. Why? No idea. Just your average CEO at age 41. And from watching her speak, seriously, this is not a genius. Okay, this is no genius. And I would say people who get skyrocketed to leading positions at an early age, either it is based on truly on real, authentic, genuine merits, like they are really super duper smart. They have a valuable asset. Their brain is just this incredibly valuable asset. Or, unfortunately, they're like this. They're a husk of a hollow human to be filled with whatever neoliberals want her to say. And then she goes out there and pretends to be a mouthpiece for human rights, international human rights, protecting the marginalized. They go out there and they virtue signal, but they use that as a cover to be able to spew like doctrine against free speech, free elections, let's see, what else? Privacy, right to privacy. They go out there and they spew these things about this stuff, and it's just a cloak. Remember, when you hear somebody go out there and say, well, I'm speaking for the marginalized or the diverse or something like that, that's kind of group speak for I'm going to now, we are planning on making things draconian. We are planning on putting in place draconian regulations against all free speech. And not just, and so that's just double speak for that type of stuff. And what's that quote? Here's the quote here. I have a good quote that I like, and it kind of encapsulates who she is. H.L. Mencken said, the urge to save humanity, you'll see her say this stuff. The urge to save humanity is almost always a false front for the urge to rule. Okay? So the urge to save humanity is almost always a false front for the urge to rule. And so when you see that, like we are here in the name of saving humanity. We are here in the name of saving marginalized groups. That's a red flag for me. And she seems to have this bureaucratic speak that she does. And that's not the sign to me of somebody who's got a brain like a steel trap, type thing. That's a person who is being told what to do, kind of like an empty pitcher. They're just filled up every day with memos that say, hey, this is what you need to say today, and these are all the buzzwords that you need to spew out there. And this is all with the intent to push control over people, over all populations, okay? So anyway, just your average CEO, as he says here, all of this to end up leading Wikimedia and National Public Radio. She's 41. She's already been the CEO of Wikimedia, the parent company of Wikipedia, and National Public Radio. And in my previous videos, I talked about how there were people who worked for Wikipedia who noticed a change when she came on. She's only been a CEO of National Public Radio for 1 month. And this is a caricature. This is a persona But there's no, to me, this person is they gave up morals. What is that? That the corruptible are drawn to power. Often the corruptible, or the most easily corruptible, are drawn to power. And I think she's one of these. That means they've set aside all ethics. They've set aside all morals. They've set aside any compass, okay, any moral compass that a lot of people, some people try to go by, try to steer their lives by, and they will do whatever their masters tell them because they get a dog biscuit or a milk biscuit when they're done. They get rewarded. And what are the rewards? Well, what they've always sought, which is power. They are corruptible by nature. Joe Biden's one of these. Kamala Harris is another. These are people who are empty vessels, but they're drawn to power. They're not geniuses. They're just drawn to power because they are the most easily corruptible people. So all of this, sorry, I digress. All of this to end up leading Wikimedia and NPR. I think this highlights the importance that intelligence/government places on information control. Both Wikipedia and NPR have been ideologically captured, and that ideology just so happens to align with every elite institution and government agency's demented DEI worldview. Of course, it will never be admitted, but MAR is just one example of a government plant embedded in an influential organization to ensure agendas are executed to their liking. Yeah, so she is pretty much the poster child for these governments that are into DEI, that are into control, that are trying to bring us back to the age of feudalism, crush the middle class, get rid of borders, so we have one totalitarian state. Okay, the one world order type things, the Agenda 2030, think of that. Net zero, things that are actually an impossibility. And the policies lead to more death, not the actual things the policies are screaming about. Climate change will not kill millions. The climate change policies, make note of that, will kill millions. Okay. And she's the voice box for this. You dress her up like a doll. She's a shell. You put the paper cutout of her hair on there. You put a paper cutout of a coat, a kind of a trendy hip jacket a little bit. And, and then voila, you've got an intel asset. So Champagne Joshi says here, let's see. Now this is a 15-minute video. I'm not going to show it all. And I showed some of it at the first. But, and it's what it was to show you is not anything particularly significant or makes you go, wow, this is interesting. Notice how uninteresting it is. And people have made some interesting comments on the video itself. And let's read through those because this explains what she is. She's more of an entity than like an independent thinking human being. That's the only way she could have gotten here at this point, seeing how kind of obtuse she is and kind of benign. She's not an interesting thinker. She doesn't have anything interesting to bring, but she does do what the establishment tells her. Champagne Joshi says she serves up a lot of tropes and corporate word salad because she knows her audience will unquestioningly gobble it up, which they do. So grating to hear a snoot uptalk the word conversations. I watched the entire thing, unfortunately, and didn't detect one genuine thing said. She's a caricature of a caricature, and that's what I'm getting at. There's this level of disingenuousness that is you just immediately detect, and that she, like he said here, I love that the way he said that she's a caricature. Like she's a caricature. She's not really real. There's nothing really authentic, and there's half of the time you're going, but who is Catherine Marr anyway? And that these are just kind of all these small indications that something's just you're not getting the sharpest people at the top of these people. Now, they will spout all the viewpoints to gain that the elites want. they're a mouthpiece for the elite. So they will spout all their talking points about slowly gaining control over people, shutting people down, shutting down the truth. They do this often by starting out with a line that is supposed to muddle the truth in a very gentle way. Okay, think of somebody like there's that scene in To Kill One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest where he kills that one guy kills Jack Nicholson. He puts a pillow over his face and slowly suffocates him, just slowly, but he's strong enough to hold it down. When they say things like, people say there's this truth, but truth is harsh, and we should rely more on lived experience, okay, and people's lived truths. Okay, so basically saying, yeah, even though we know there's gravity out there, we should really encourage people to follow their own truths, that they can float in the air, that they can jump off a cliff and just fly, okay? Even though reality immediately says you can't fly and you fall to the bottom of the cliff. and it's a tragic situation. And that's where delusion brings you. So they muddle the conversation at first like that, and then they usher in something insidious, like we need to start to monitor misinformation. We need to monitor what people say is the truth about, just pick one, biology, stuff like that. And we need to start to push people's lived truth. And lived truth isn't the truth. It's just somebody's idea. You can have any idea you want about gravity, but regardless, there is only one truth about gravity. It keeps you down and you'll fall. No matter what, you can have a million lived truths. But she used the word truth there, but she's mixing it with a lie, which is the lived part. Well, yeah, it's my lived experience, but it's no matter how I feel about gravity, no matter if I think gravity's a big meanie, gravity is just the villain, they're just a big bully. Okay, I feel that way, but that feeling is not the actual truth about gravity itself. So no matter how I feel about gravity, and no matter how much I hate it and think that gravity's racist or whatever, I'm still going to fall off a cliff and get hurt severely or die. So they try to usher this in. She does this in her conversations. She did a TED Talk where she was talking about lived truth versus real truth and how we need to, just gently, and she has a smile on her face, just gently bring in, maybe some devices to search out and suppress misinformation. She doesn't say suppress because that would be too over the top. And then the clapping seals were all like, yeah, who were paid, okay? Or their jobs are on the line, so they have to clap. So Champagne Joshi says, I watched the entire thing. She's a caricature, as I said. Tio Kelly says, I don't rely on statistics to tell me whether we are biased. Our readers told me we aren't. Oh, that's funny. And that's talking about the NPR echo chamber, which is, they've noticed, and this has come out too, that the NPR echo chamber, they've noticed that over the years, it's really just mostly for a network that spouts diversity, equity, and inclusion, they're actually the least diverse. Their listeners are the least diverse. They're mostly white, liberal, and they are upper class. Okay, so they're decently well off to very rich. Okay, so they live in an echo chamber of that. You're not even finding like a majority of statistics that include diversity in there. You're just finding one class of people, and that came out too. With all NPR's spouting about DEI, that's how their actual demographics of their listeners ended up. Wendy Dale says she knows all the correct buzzwords to say to talk around a topic without ever saying anything. Man, I noticed that too. This is a person who she never says anything. If you watch her little TED clips, on the previous video to this, I showed a TED clip, a TED Talk clip, and it was only 1 minute. And that's how I felt. I was like, this is an empty shell. This is so inauthentic and disingenuous. I walked away going, gosh, that was like listening to music that was just created on like a soundboard or something. It wasn't created with talent. It wasn't created with soul. It wasn't created with uniqueness. It was simply music that was made to be pumped out into clubs to bring cash in. Like, if you've ever listened to like club music, it's really annoying because if you listen to it, okay, say you like to dance, okay, in a club, you don't care, you're dancing. But say you are listening to club music in your car or whatever, it's awful. Like, it's pretty annoying, and it's not memorable. There's nothing you walk away with going, wow, I'll always remember that, you know? No, it's because it's all made on a machine and there's no soul in it. So she's the same thing. She is she says all these buzzwords, and then after she's done talking, you're like, I actually don't remember a thing she said. There was nothing of interest or significance that she said. Shadow says, this is disgusting. She set aside her decorated and questionable background. These clips showcase the dark triad of character traits: an obsession with winning unmerited trust, framing narratives, and posturing for deniability. Wow, that's a really good one. I've started this, but she is fluent in bureaucratese and speaks that instead of plain English. And remember, I mentioned this. She does speak bureaucratese because bureaucratese isn't necessarily, it's $5 words. It's to make you sound smarter than you really are. And the thing is, it's kind of backfiring. She used the word in a statement she made, and she used the word intentionality. And people started saying, you know, you just use the word intention. Intentionality means the exact same thing. It doesn't really mean anything. Just say intention. But she adds that the intentionality to make her sound smarter than she is. That's the magic trick. And it's actually cheap because it makes her look cheap. And you walk away going, there was something not right with that chick. There was something that did not come across as intelligent with her, but it came off more as a poser. You can sense, I think most people are, I really do believe this, most people are kind of born with a shit detector, a bullshit detector. Now, liberals aren't, okay? They they deliberately turned off that bullshit detector. But most humans, I'm talking even the least educated dudes, they can detect people and audience and crowd. They can detect BS, it's just you walk away. Even if you can't define it, you walk away going, that was empty. Like, that was just, there was nothing in that. They didn't actually say anything memorable. But that's the point here. She's supposed to come in, say a bunch of words that are bureaucraties. Let's see that. Buzzwords. But they actually don't mean anything. And the message comes across after a while is that the message is, I speak for the powerful. I speak for the class that wants to control humanity. And I have to hide it a little bit. So I'm going to come in here and use all these buzzwords. But in the end, what we really want is we just want to crack down on you guys. We want to suppress free speech. That's all we want. So we're going to go through these hoops and do these, how would you say, verbal gymnastics, bureaucraties, okay, to impose this on you, okay? We're going to try to do this in a kinder, gentler way. We're not going to take the 1984 route. We're going to lull you to sleep like a boiling frog. We're just going to slowly turn up the heat and eventually take away your freedom of speech little by little. She's that person. Somebody said, I have no dog in this race besides being a taxpayer, but the first thing to note is that the questions and answers are scripted. She keeps looking down at her book to see if she is on message. He has a book/script as well. Completely scripted for both parties, nothing extemporaneous at all. This is a public relations appearance. I think Mar is being sincere and honest. NPR works in an echo chamber of like-minded people who, quote, trust their content. Therefore, NPR feeds them more of that content. The crazy thing is that if NPR were to become more balanced, they'd become less trusted by the actual echo chamber. Yeah. Okay, so Bastiat says this about the context of being a CIA operative or an asset. Okay, she obviously, it really does appear that she is a CIA operative. The phrase "make all the bugs shallow." She used this in jargon in a tweet. So stay with me here. She used this in a tweet and it made no sense. And I was like, what? And people were asking, why is she saying this phrase, "make all the bugs shallow"? And this was in one of her tweets. And I don't have it right now, sorry about that. But this is what they're referring to. I saw this and I thought, why is she saying this strange phrase? The phrase "make all the bugs shallow" in the context of a CIA operative involved in a modern-day Operation Mockingbird type position could be interpreted as a directive to ensure that surveillance methods, often referred to as bugs in espionage jargon, are deployed in a manner that is easy to manage, monitor, and extract information from. In the intelligence field, making something shallow might suggest simplifying or streamlining processes to enhance efficiency and effectiveness. Operation Mockingbird was an alleged Cold War operation where the CIA is said to have influenced media and public opinion. If we relate this historical context to modern operations, this phrase could also imply the need to subtly integrate surveillance tools within media or communication channels in such a way that they are not deeply embedded or complex, thereby reducing the risk of discovery and simplifying the extraction of useful intelligence. This approach would be strategically beneficial for quick deployment and retrieval of information without deep integration into target systems, which could be more vulnerable to detection and countermeasures. Okay, I have to digest that one, folks. He read the questions and she read the responses, laughed my ass off. In every, oh yeah, okay. She said, in every corner of the country isn't square. I don't know why I said corner. I do. Corner, the dark corners of the internet is what she means, is a smear to describe the sources of unsanctioned thought. She views the country as full of dangerous thought that needs to be corrected. Exactly. That is the message of the blobs and the deep state entities right now is we need to correct these people. We cannot have Americans following different narratives. We cannot have them stepping out of line and thinking for themselves. So what is the point of these conversations if the interviewer is going to let the guest just lie and gaslight in the most obvious way? Well, they're part of the establishment too. This is a play. You're watching a play going on. And it's supposed to go like, oh, here's the interviewer over here, and here's the interviewee. This is going to be enlightening. But the thing is, it's not enlightening when you walk away because both those entities, the interviewer and the interviewee, essentially work for the same group of people. They're both there to protect the elites. They're both there to protect the deep state, like the intelligence agencies. That's their job. It's posed as, oh, look, we're having a dialectical type of view. It's an interviewer. Hopefully they have some hard-hitting questions and stuff like that to really get down to the core and the meat of the truth. And she's supposed to answer and stuff like that. But when they both have a script, it's just a how do you say it? It's just a lesson in redundancy. It's useless. So Even the questions are word salady. Question: I'd like to give you a chance to respond to these criticisms. Answer: blah, 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 curiosity, blah, 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 curiosity, blah, 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 curiosity, blah, 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 newsroom, blah, 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 curiosity. That's one of the best responses I've seen. Word salad tossed with a dressing of vocal fry and uptalk. This is cautiously and precisely steered proselytizing with a specific goal: being seen as fair/balanced while achieving a public policy and general societal shift towards the left. This is not an interview, it is theater, as I just said. They are both holding their scripts. She was born on third base and thinks she hit a triple. I have bookmarking this. I've never slept better in my life. I don't know. She seems to be right in line with all the rest of the fraud being perpetrated on we the people at this point in time. I say, let them keep on with their crusade to mislead us and let them flame out. I believe the elite's brazenness will unleash a huge backlash. Yeah, I can see what he's saying. Somebody said, I can't sit through that. They thought that they could just lead and keep everyone enthralled to them through their clever, caring-seeming narrativizing. Turns out they lead each other into a clownish cul-de-sac that's obvious to anyone who has ever engaged with reality and not just theoretical reality. Glottal Fry remains incredibly under-researched. Yeah, defund the NPR. It's not a great word, but it's the word we have. A pronouncement of fealty. Ooh, interesting. Now in crisis, coordinated campaigns to mislead is Maher's new definition of disinfo. Convenient because just as she never defined or provided examples of disinfo, she won't have to define mislead. Ask Maher where such a campaign leads and prepare for the silence. Interesting. Anyway, so there is, and I don't know if this was in my other video, but I showed this tweet, this exchange with this guy from Tunisia who said Catherine Maher is probably a CIA agent. She's been in Tunisia multiple times since 2011 under multiple affiliations. That's why it makes me think she is a CIA operative, because she's been under so many multiple affiliations, multiple companies and organizations within just a very short time span. And so that would indicate that, so let's see, this year you're going to go over to the Middle East and you're going to be an advisor to the Atlantic Council. Okay, next year you're going to go over and you're going to act as a council person for the WEF. You know, it's very odd. Catherine Maher says, seriously, Slim, you've welcomed me in your home. Slim Amamu says, you gave me the impression that you were not who you claimed to be back then. She says, that's weird. Honestly, I'm not any sort of agent. You can dislike me, but please don't defame me. Wow, interesting. She's designed for propaganda, not journalism. Interesting that nearly all of Hollywood on X rose up yesterday and effectively endorsed NPR and Maher. Yes, they got the memo from probably the CIA. They got the memo to publicly endorse NPR and Maher because she's getting so much hate. I can't help conclude that most of Hollywood is under the direction of the CIA. My father, God rest his soul, always called NPR the National Socialist Radio Station. That's what they are, yeah. And then the Mighty Wurlitzer plays on. The Mighty Wurlitzer, how the CIA played America. Did she work for only 1 week at each job? Yep, that's what I say. This is bizarre. It's a very strange resume. If she starts singing about misinformation to the tune of a Mary Poppins song, then you'll know you're right. Yeah, there was that misinformation Ministry of Truth lady, forget her name. They made that position, if you don't remember, they made that position like a year or two ago or something. They brought this crazy loon in, you'd have to be, and she would sing Mary Poppins songs in her office on her camera. And immediately, there was so much hate and so much pushback on that, they got rid of the position. They just they realized, oh, we should just name it something else. It wasn't called the Ministry of Truth, but it was basically so outright, just like, hi, yeah, we're going to curtail all your freedom of speech. This is basically what the title was of her job was. Like, I am here to curtail your freedom of speech. Consultant, you know? Anyway, if she starts singing about misinformation, okay, reads like you would think a resume of an agent would have, even if she isn't, she is. Reminder, the CIA, FBI are just baggage handlers for the elite. The CIA, FBI have no real power. They do what they are told. And that's why they've been captured by the elites. They decided, well, who better than a law enforcement agency for the most wealthy, one of the most successful governments in the whole world, the United States. Successful, yeah, that's relative. But I'm just saying, for one of the wealthiest countries in the world, captured the most powerful and captured the law enforcement agencies so that our policies to make money, we can enforce. We can enforce laws that will steer people to do what we want, to spend their money on us, to put money into our system. And that's fascism right there, isn't it? The way she presents herself screams manipulation. Is this news to anyone? There is an entire clandestine world out there where secret agents get away with murder and do whatever they want. What we are seeing now is just this horror leaking out into the real world. It's so rampant now, they can't even hide it. Did she change jobs every 3 months? Dang, that's a long resume, especially for only being 41 years old. Yeah, God forbid these people raise questions. That's just an insane thing to do. Cry harder, you butthurt little clown. Anyway, so I'll leave it at that. I know this won't get very many views at all because I'm really just trying to figure out stuff. This is me just trying to figure out what the heck's going on with this. So anyway, I'll let you go, but please put a like on the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll just keep diving into this. If this continues to get a little more interesting, we'll continue down this road. But I'm inclined to think after a couple days of looking into this now, I'm kind of and seeing what's come forth. I'm thinking this CIA operative, CIA asset for sure. This is so suspect, and she's such a husk of a human being. I'm like, do you have any original thoughts of your own? Because it just doesn't seem like we're like, who's the real Catherine Marr? And when I see that, I'm like, none of these are her thoughts. None of these are coming from her. She's a scripted caricature. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks, and I'll talk to you later.